History, like some vast Gothic cathedral, is filled with echoing chambers and shadowy corners. We walk its long halls, drawn to the grand spectacle of war, the clash of empires, the rise and fall of civilizations. But what of the quieter spaces? The side chapels where seemingly small events, unnoticed at the time, lit the fuse of global conflict. World War I, a cataclysm that reshaped the 20th century, didn't simply explode out of nowhere. It was the culmination of decades of simmering tensions, a tangled web of alliances, and a series of seemingly insignificant events that, like a line of dominoes, toppled into catastrophe. This is the story of the fuse of war, the 8 pivotal events that ignited the inferno of World War I. The year is 1914. The place, Sarajevo, a city steeped in history, now a powder keg about to explode. On June 28th, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, and his wife Sophie arrive for a state visit. A seemingly routine event, but fate, it seems, had other plans. As the Archduke's motorcade wound through the crowded streets, a young Bosnian Serb nationalist, Gavrilo Princip, seized his moment. Shots rang out, echoing through the ages. The Archduke and his wife, struck down in a hail of bullets, slumped in their car, their lives brutally extinguished. News of the assassination spread like wildfire, sending shockwaves across Europe. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, reeling from the attack, saw an opportunity to crush Serbian nationalism once and for all. The stage was set for a chain reaction, a cascade of events that would plunge the world into darkness. Europe in the early 20th century was a tangled web of alliances, a complex network of treaties and agreements designed to maintain a fragile peace. But this intricate system, meant to deter aggression, instead acted as a tripwire, dragging nations into a conflict not of their own making. Germany, fearing encirclement by its rivals, had forged a pact with Austria-Hungary. Russia, bound by treaty to Serbia, felt obligated to intervene on its behalf. France, still smarting from its defeat in the Franco-Prussian War, had allied with Russia, creating a counterweight to German power. Great Britain, traditionally wary of continental entanglements, had pledged to defend Belgium's neutrality, a commitment that would prove fateful. These alliances, meant to prevent war, instead ensured its inevitability. Each nation, bound by its commitments, felt compelled to act, setting in motion a chain of events that would spiral out of control. Imagine a Europe gripped by fear, where nations eye each other with suspicion, their arsenals growing ever larger. This was the reality of the early 20th century, a time of intense military build-up and technological innovation. Germany, under the ambitious Kaiser Wilhelm II, sought to challenge British naval supremacy, sparking a naval arms race that fueled tensions between the two powers. France, haunted by the spectre of German aggression, poured resources into its army, determined to avenge its past defeat. Russia, vast and sprawling, embarked on a massive modernization program, expanding its army and railways. The arms race wasn't just about numbers, it was about technological superiority. New weapons, like the machine gun and heavy artillery, promised unprecedented destructive power. The world watched with growing unease as Europe armed itself to the teeth, a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. Nationalism, a potent force in the 19th and 20th centuries, was a double-edged sword, capable of uniting people but also driving them apart. In Europe's diverse tapestry of empires and ethnicities, nationalism inflamed passions, fueling dreams of independence and self-determination. In the Austro-Hungarian Empire, a patchwork of nationalities, simmering nationalist movements threatened to tear the empire apart. Serbia, emboldened by its recent victories in the Balkan Wars, dreamed of creating a greater Serbia, uniting the South Slavs under its banner. Germany, newly unified in 1871, exuded a sense of national pride and ambition, eager to assert its place on the world stage. Nationalism, while a powerful force for unity, also bred intolerance and suspicion. It created an us versus them mentality, making it easier for nations to demonize their rivals and justify aggression. The late 19th and early 20th centuries witnessed a frenzy of imperial expansion as European powers jostled for control of Africa, Asia, and the Pacific. This scramble for colonies fueled rivalries and exacerbated tensions, creating a global tinderbox. Germany, late to the game of empire, sought to carve out its own colonial possessions, challenging the established empires of Britain and France. The competition for colonies wasn't just about land and resources, it was about prestige and national pride. Each nation saw its colonial empire as a symbol of its greatness, a measure of its standing in the world. This scramble for colonies, occurring far from the battlefields of Europe, nonetheless contributed to the tensions that would erupt in 1914. The Balkan Peninsula, a region long known for its ethnic and religious diversity, became a hotbed of conflict in the years leading up to World War I. The Balkan Wars of 1912 to 1913, fought over territory and influence, left the region unstable and primed for further conflict. Serbia, emboldened by its victories, emerged as a regional power, its ambitions alarming Austria-Hungary, which feared the rise of Serbian nationalism. Russia, seeing itself as the protector of the Slavic peoples, backed Serbia, further stoking tensions with Austria-Hungary. The Balkan Wars, while localized conflicts, served as a warning, a glimpse into the potential for larger conflagrations. They demonstrated the volatility of the region and the willingness of nations to resort to force to achieve their objectives. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo triggered a chain reaction, a diplomatic crisis that spiraled out of control in a matter of weeks. Austria-Hungary, determined to punish Serbia, issued an ultimatum, a set of demands designed to humiliate and weaken its neighbor. Serbia, fearing war, sought to appease Austria-Hungary while also seeking Russia's support. Russia, bound by treaty to Serbia, urged restraint but also began mobilizing its forces, a move that alarmed Germany. Germany, fearing a two-front war, urged Austria-Hungary to take a hard line against Serbia while also issuing its own ultimatum to Russia, demanding it cease mobilization. The diplomatic efforts, frantic and often contradictory, failed to avert the crisis. Miscalculations, misinterpretations, and a fundamental lack of trust poisoned the atmosphere. By the end of July, Europe was on the brink of war. In the years leading up to World War I, the media played a significant role in shaping public opinion and creating a climate conducive to war. Newspapers, fueled by nationalism and sensationalism, often portrayed other nations in a negative light, stoking fear and suspicion. Stories of atrocities, real or imagined, circulated widely, inflaming public passions. The press, often aligned with political factions, served as a mouthpiece for nationalist agendas, promoting militarism and glorifying war. The media's coverage of the July crisis, often biased and inflammatory, contributed to the escalation of tensions. The public, bombarded with a barrage of war drums and fear-mongering, became increasingly receptive to the idea of conflict. The media, while not solely responsible for the outbreak of war, played a crucial role in cultivating a climate of hostility and suspicion, making war seem inevitable. The fuse had been lit. Decades of simmering tensions, fueled by nationalism, imperial rivalries, and a spiraling arms race, had finally reached their flashpoint. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, a seemingly isolated event, had set in motion a chain reaction that would plunge the world into the abyss of total war. The alliance system meant to deter aggression instead acted as a tripwire, dragging nation after nation into the conflict. The diplomats scrambling to avert catastrophe found themselves trapped in a web of their own making. The world watched in horror as Europe, the cradle of civilization, descended into a maelstrom of violence. From the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand to the entangled alliances and the fervor of nationalism, these pivotal events ignited a conflict that reshaped the world. The legacy of World War I continues to echo through history, reminding us of the devastating consequences of unchecked tensions and rivalries.